भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं तं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै।
Om Gurubhyo Namaha. We continue with Chapter 4, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the yoga of knowledge, of renunciation, of action. And here is the essence of Maharishi's Gita, verse number 40. Ajnascha Shraddhadanascha Samsayatma Vinasyati Nayam Lokostinaparo Na Shukham Samsayatmanaha. And here is the English translation. But the man who is without knowledge, without faith, and of a doubting nature perishes. For the doubting mind, there is neither this world nor another, nor any happiness. I repeat again. But the man who is without knowledge, without faith, and of a doubting nature perishes. For the doubting mind, there is neither this world nor another, nor any happiness. Now, the verse number 39 demanded faith for the sake of gaining knowledge, whereas this verse is saying that lack of faith results from ignorance. So here, try to understand that faith and knowledge are interdependent. This faith and knowledge again are interdependent from the most elementary to the most advanced stage for the seeker. So again, this faith and knowledge derive inspiration from each other, and while at the same time helping the growth of the other. Now, coming back to the verse, the sequence of expressions is highly important here. And what is this sequence? The man who is without knowledge, the man who is without faith, and who is of doubting nature perishes. So here, a lack of knowledge is the basis of lack of faith, which in turn is the basis of a doubting nature. We have already understood that faith is Shraddha, and Shraddha is much more than just faith alone. So here in this verse, The foremost is the lack of knowledge or the state of ignorance, and this is at the root of all failure in both material advancement and spiritual development. So, this ignorance or lack of knowledge is the source of all weakness and suffering in life. Now, the teaching from this verse and also from the others is that one must cast off ignorance and rise to the state of knowledge in order to win all happiness and progress in this world and hereafter. Here it is important to understand and that one must remember that it is the ignorant who become enlightened. Again, it is the ignorant who become enlightened. It is not the one with knowledge who becomes enlightened. And here, meditation is a process which reveals reality to the ignorant. So, the self-realization comes to the ignorant, not to the one who already has the knowledge. We also understand that no man could ever be completely devoid of faith and completely full of doubt, and also no man could be completely ignorant of reality. Here it is important to understand that the practice of transcendental meditation is such that it can be started from whatever level of faith a man may have, or whatever his degree of ignorance is, or whatever the level of self-doubt he has. This meditation brings faith to the faithless and dispels the doubts in the mind of the skeptic by providing direct experience of the reality. And what is this reality? The experience of the self or the transcendental consciousness. Here ends the essence of the verse number 40. Now I will add a few words. So here in this verse, Bhagavan Krishna says, for the doubting mind, there is neither this world nor another, nor any happiness. Now we know that everyone has doubts. Everyone who has a mind and who has the thinking capacity has doubts. Now these doubts can be self-doubts, which are the origin of all doubts, and then doubting others, doubting the guru, doubting the knowledge, and having doubts about life and existence. This self-doubt, extending to doubting everything, is certainly a destroyer of the individual. Samsayatma vinasyati, that means self-doubt destroys you. And then when Bhagavan says, na sukham samsayatmaha, the self-doubt is never happy anywhere. From all these talks, we have understood that Atma is full and Atma is Purna, complete and whole. So one who has the self-knowledge or the self-realization, then one expresses this wholeness. And how is this wholeness expressed? Here there is integration of the thoughts, the speech, the behavior and the actions. You see this full integration in Bhagavan Krishna. or one who is enlightened. There is no gap between the thoughts and the speech and the behavior, and the behavior and the actions. This is because all of these are rooted in that self. Now, one who is not enlightened and who does not have the knowledge of the self naturally does not have this wholeness and sees himself as inadequate, unlimited, not as capable, not as powerful, not as happy or contented. So naturally, everything will be expressed and functioning without that wholeness. The thoughts and actions are not coordinated and integrated. The speech and the behavior also follows the same pattern. But this individual who feels inadequate and unlimited, again, inadequate, limited, powerless, and not as creative or capable, tries to hide his real image or real person and presents himself to others as though he is something more than what he is. More capable, more efficient, more powerful, more honest, whatever the situation is. So this conflict between his true inner image and then what he is presenting to the outside world then naturally creates a conflict in him, because he knows what he is truly, but he wants others to think that he is something different. So this naturally creates the conflict and creates the self-doubt. So this is the beginning of the self-doubt. And to make matters further complicated, even though he presents himself much more than what he is, the others have their own opinions, and they have an opinion which is much lower than what he thinks he is projecting. Now naturally, this doubt, this self-doubt now comes to the doubting of others. And this creates more conflict. And the self-doubt now pervades the whole of his life. How he perceives life, how he perceives others, and his teachers and gurus and the knowledge. One can have awareness, one can develop awareness and understand that these are the limitations, these are the problems, and try to lessen this gap between what he is inside and what he is presenting on the outside. But this cannot all be corrected without rising in consciousness and becoming whole again, this Purnatva. So, when one practices transcendence and one experiences the self, then he knows right away that he is the infinite self. He is not the limited entity. He is much more powerful than what he thinks. And this infusion of the absolute consciousness into the relative then fills in those gaps. Then everything rises to that Purnatva, or the fullness, or the wholeness. These gaps between the thoughts and the speech and actions and behavior start disappearing. one becomes more natural in how one thinks and acts, more spontaneous. And when one rises to this status, then others also perceive, they can see that you are more integrated, you are more capable and creative and have more to offer without pretending. So naturally, when the consciousness is rising, then one is self-referral, one has no doubts with the knowledge or with the guru, and gaining the self becomes most important. So gaining this knowledge, this higher knowledge, is the only cure for removing the self-doubts, for completely eradicating the self-doubts, because you are the self, and in the self there are no doubts. You are the wholeness. And finally, it is important to understand that it is the ignorance which gives rise to delusion. One becomes confused and confounded, and it is this ignorance which gives the mind, or which fills the mind with all these doubts and indecisions. Here, it's important that everyone rises above these doubts and indecisions and plunge into action like Arjuna. I will end here, and we will continue tomorrow with verse number 41. Jai Gurudev, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.
Namaha. शास्त्रम्